Hi guys, welcome to the Old Ultra Runner channel. I'm your host Jay Tynert, and today I want to tell an old ultra running story. This is going to be about the first 24-hour race I ever did, fixed time race. It was Jackalope Jam in 2017. It was held out on 7IL Ranch in Cat Spring, Texas. The race was put on by Trail Racing Over Texas. I have now done their Jackalope Jam, I guess 3 times. But 2017 was the first time. It was the first time it had been held at 7IL Ranch. It was a half-mile out and a half-mile back for each loop, and you did it over and over. I had never done that sort of distance before. The furthest I had gone was when I went 54 miles in a 12-hour in 2013. So this was about 3.5 years later, and that year it was held in April, late April. After that year, the Jackalope Jam has ever since been held now in like the 3rd week in February. So this was the shirt I received doing the race, and you can see it's a tank top. Nice, it's a real soft tank top made out of bamboo. A very nice shirt. And since that year they have gone to, since the race moved up to February and it's usually much colder, they now usually give sweatshirts when you finish that race. So I've got a couple of Jackalope Jam sweatshirts. But anyway, that year in 2017, I was doing the 24-hour. I started off, I felt pretty good. I was running along. I finally did hit a rough patch around mile 54. Felt really rough and was walking some till probably mile 58. Then I felt pretty good again for 9 miles, and then I felt rough again. Anyway, it was kind of back and forth. And when we got into the nighttime, it started cooling down a lot. It actually got pretty cold that night. I remember I put on every bit of clothes I had, and I was still cold. So when I ended up, I had every bit of clothes on, and I would run into the wind because running would heat me up. But I was too tired to keep running all the time, so I would run into the wind. And then when I had a tailwind, I would walk back. So run into the wind to keep warm, walk back when the amount of clothes on helped and kept me warmer. There were only, in the actual 24-hour race, there were like 21 participants. I ended up actually being fairly competitive. My goal had been to run 100 miles. I really thought I could do 100. But when I started struggling in the 50-something mile range and then in the 60s, I really fell off pace. I got to mile well into it, and I realized I probably wasn't going to make 100 miles. But I wasn't super far off the pace. I actually ended up, during the night, I took the lead in the race. There were a couple of guys there that were 20 years younger than I was. I was 54 at the time of the race. And there were a couple of guys in their early to mid 30s that were, I believe they were in the Army, and they were from a base in San Antonio. They were actually much stronger runners. They ran a lot faster, they looked a lot smoother, but they both had their own issues. Like I said in my running fixed time races thing, knowing how to take care of yourself is a big part of it. One of them developed huge foot blisters that slowed them down a lot, and they ended up stopping running early. The other one kept having to take long breaks and was moving up because they had gotten to where they had a high amount of chafing in their inner thighs, and they became very uncomfortable. So I ended up catching those 2 guys. I passed them, I was in the lead, and I ran until 6:40 a.m. in the morning on Sunday morning. The race had started at 9 a.m. Saturday morning. So I still had 2 hours and 20 minutes left. I was at 87 miles. But by my calculation, at the rate I was moving, I was going to end up with like 95 or 96 miles, which would have been a better total. But my goal was 100, and I wasn't going to be satisfied with 95 or 96. So I just decided I probably would have kept going, except I was in the lead, but I had gotten to where I had a 13-mile gap, and both those guys were laying down. So I did not believe they were going to pop back up and run that amount of mileage in the last few minutes. So it looked like I was actually going to win the race, and I wasn't going to meet my 100-mile goal. So I just dropped out. I stopped with 2 hours and 20 minutes to go. I mean, it still counts as long as you've run even 1 mile in most 24-hour races. Your distance counts. So I actually dropped out. I probably could have done another 8-9 miles, but I dropped out. I stopped running. My 87 still counted. I actually won the race, which was only like the second race I'd ever won, but it was very cool. I got this 100K belt buckle. I don't know if you can see it very well, but you get a bigger one when you do 100 miles, which I have done at Jackalope Jam since. But I got a 100K belt buckle for my 87 miles. For actually winning the race, I won a pound of coffee that was labeled with Trail Racing Over Texas on it, which is kind of cool. Coffee was good, but I was very proud to win a race, and it was a lot of fun. I have since gone back multiple years. Actually, every year I sign up and try to go back to Jackalope Jam. The following year, I was going to run the 24-hour again to take a shot at the 100 miles, but I got the flu like the week before, so it didn't work out. 2019, I was going to run it, and I fell in late December and got a concussion and wasn't allowed to run until starting the beginning of February again, and the race was a couple weeks later. So I only had like 2 or 3 weeks of training. I decided I wanted to hit 100 miles. I didn't think I was in shape to do it in 24 hours, so I switched to the 48 hour. Anyway, I will probably do another video to talk about that 48 hour, but anyway, this is the story of my first Jackalope Jam that I did in 2017. Fortunately, I won. It was a lot of fun, and even made me much more hooked on fixed time races. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk again soon.